Arcimoto promises ultra-efficient, right-sized electric transport that costs pennies to run. But can a tiny 20 kWh vehicle really replace a car for daily city life? And how fast does it charge when you need it? Arcimoto says yes, and the answer has surprising trade-offs. You're thinking about greener, cheaper ways to get around town, and an Arcimoto looks like a dream. Tiny footprint, low energy use, and weirdly fun. But let's be blunt, small vehicles bring small batteries, and that changes everything about range, charging, and what convenience means. In this video, we'll walk through the facts. How far a typical Arcimoto vehicle goes on a 20 kWh pack, how long it takes to charge on level 1 and level 2 power, what the real energy cost per mile looks like, and whether the math actually lines up for everyday use. I'll cite the official specs and independent reviews so you can judge for yourself. Hello everyone, I'm Shayan, an engineer specialized in electric vehicle development. The basic numbers: range, battery, and power. Arcimoto lists the Fun Utility Vehicle, FUV, with roughly a 20 kWh battery and city range figure around 100 to 102 miles in mixed city use. Arcimoto publishes the spec and independent summaries confirm it. That's the headline you'll see if you're shopping. But don't treat 100 miles like a magic guarantee. Reality depends on speed, load, weather, and how much HVAC you run. Arcimoto's own documentation and test drives showed the FUV can do 66 miles at a steady 55 miles per hour and only about 32 miles at 70 miles per hour. So highway trips shrink range fast. Charging-wise, Arcimoto states that a level 2 charger at about 3.3 kW will fill the pack from near empty in roughly 4 hours, while a standard household 120 volt outlet or level 1 can take 8 hours or more. That's low compared with mainstream EVs with bigger onboard chargers. But for a small battery, it's workable overnight. Independent reviews measured roughly the same practical charge times. Arcimoto markets the FUV as ultra efficient, and there's real math behind that. Fewer kilograms to move, less frontal area, and lower rolling resistance mean you use far fewer watt-hour per mile. Arcimoto and owner test cite efficiency figures that convert to very high MPGe equivalents and strong mileage per kilowatt-hour numbers compared with full-size EVs. Because the pack is only 20 kilowatt-hour. Even a small daily commute uses only a few kilowatt-hour. That's cheap when electricity rates are low. But efficiency isn't the same as utility. If your daily routine includes highway stints, heavy cargo, or too long commutes, the small pack and lower sustained highway efficiency mean you'll either charge more often or accept shorter trips. In other words, great for many city trips, less great for long intercity hauls. Charging behavior in real world, convenience versus frequency. Here's the practical picture. Because the battery is small, you can refill it quickly in terms of percentage, but the absolute time still matters. A level 2 3.3 kilowatt charger adds roughly 10 to 12 miles of city range per hour. So a 4-hour overnight charge is comfortable for most daily needs. However, Arcimoto's vehicles do not, as of current consumer models, support high-power DC fast charging that larger EVs use to cut stop time. The platform focuses on overnight and depot charging strategies. That's fine if you charge at home, but if you depend on public rapid chargers for long trips, Arcimoto is not optimized for that workflow. But there's a counter-argument. For urban fleets, delivery services, or short daily commutes, the lack of DC fast charging is actually a positive. These vehicles are designed to return to base nightly very slow. Cheap charging is abundant. Arcimoto's commercial messaging and recent business developments explicitly push the platform towards last mile, campus, and fleet solutions, where predictable charging schedules beat random fast charger stops. The right-sized promise meets reality. Arcimoto's whole pitch is that many trips don't need a 5-seat SUV. A lean, single or 2-person EV will do. That's efficient, but here's the catch. If your life requires one vehicle to do everything, weekend road trips, hauling, highway commuting, the convenience overhead of frequent charging or multiple vehicles offsets the efficiency benefit. The question for buyers is whether a right-sized vehicle will replace a car or supplement it. But there's another problem: public perception and infrastructure. Many consumers expect EVs to behave like gasoline cars: quick refuel, long uninterrupted range, and flexible use. Arcimoto flips that expectation. You get cheap running costs and low emissions, but you also need to adapt your charging habits. That's a behavioral hurdle that's as important as the engineering one. Use cases where Arcimoto wins and why. For urban commuters with short round trips, Arcimoto's operating cost is tiny. Imagine a 20-mile round trip commute that uses 5 to 6 kilowatt hour. At an electricity price of like 15 cents per kilowatt hour, that's under $1 a day to run, compared with multiple dollars for a combustion vehicle. For city delivery routes, university campus fleets, or rideshare in dense areas, the smaller size eases parking and reduces congestion footprint. Arcimoto's business announcements and partnerships show the company actively pursuing these markets. But the story changes if you need one vehicle flexibility. A household that wants a single car for groceries, kids, and weekend escapes will find Arcimoto insufficient without a second vehicle or adjust the expectations. The economics can still work, but lifestyle must adapt. Arcimoto occupies a gray area between motorcycle and car in many jurisdictions. That's a feature for some buyers. Lighter regulations, sometimes no helmet rules, but it complicates insurance and licensing in others. The company and community resources explain local expectations, but buyers must check their own state rules carefully. This is a human systems challenge more than a technology one. But regulatory flexibility also unlocks opportunities. Lower tax and registration schemes and simpler maintenance can lower the total cost of ownership for certain users and fleets, which is why some municipalities and campuses are experimenting with Arcimoto as an alternative to cars or scooters. The decision rule. Who should seriously consider an Arcimoto? Here's how to think about it in one sentence. Choose Arcimoto if your average trip is short, you can charge predictably at home or depot, and you prize low operating cost and compact parking over long cruising range. If you need to do occasional long highway trips without a second vehicle, this won't replace a conventional car. But for fleets, campuses, and urban commuters, the math lines up beautifully. Lower energy use, cheaper charging, and a vehicle designed from the ground up for short trip efficiency. Arcimoto's public statements and pilot programs reflect that strategy. Quick recap you can use right now. Arcimoto's FUV has 20 kilowatt hour pack. It has 100 miles of city range, with 4 hours on level 2 charging and 8 plus hours on level 1 charging. It best fits the short urban trips, depot and fleet charging, and it is right-sizing for city mobility. It is not ideal if you want one vehicle for long highway trips without charging flexibility. Plan your lifestyle or pair it with another vehicle instead. But the big picture, Arcimoto isn't trying to beat full-size EVs on range. It's trying to change the equation entirely. Smaller battery, less embodied energy, and radically lower operating costs for the trips most people actually make. If cities want sustainable transport that cuts congestion and emissions, right-sized vehicles like Arcimoto should be in the conversation. If you want to learn about the battery management system inside these electric